This is Jovichu playing San Francisco, Escape from San Francisco, and I am officially a night owl. I I sleep during the day and I'm active at night. I get home, I don't see a point in trying to get any sleep in when I have the second job to go to at noon, so it's like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, the last time I tried to do this, I got home at like 8:45. I ate breakfast, and I tried going to sleep at 9, when I have to get up at 11 or so. Is this faster? Kind of. Whatever. When I have to get up at 11, I realize I just flew to the same town. Whenever I get up at 11, it gives me about like an hour and a half to sleep. And last time I tried doing that, I dreamt I was working. And when I woke up, I thought... And in the dream, I imagined myself going all the way to work and then coming home and then waking up in bed. And I was like, did I even sleep? It kind of fucked with me a little bit. I was like, okay, I guess I didn't sleep. But I did sleep. I just dreamt about work. I was like, oh... Wow. And then, did I even come to this area? Maybe I did. But why did that girl not aggro? Because I wasn't there yet, I guess. So, this is a very special episode, part 2. Because the shit keeps happening again. I learned about Breonna Taylor and her murder by the police again. They were responding to a possible drug threat or looking for drugs or something. And her boyfriend, I forget his name, forgive me, whoever is involved or paying attention to this. I understand, or I heard about like the boyfriend got like nervous and he was reaching for his phone. They thought it was a gun. They shot her, the girl, and oh jeez, I need a ground type. How about that? And she died. It's currently, I think the 2 officers involved, only one of them got arrested. The other one, I don't know. And the problem is, it's another case that's like, why aren't they both straight up arrested? Why is only one of them getting charged? They both didn't resolve, or they instigated the situation and they resolved it poorly. How are they both keeping their jobs? Or how is this not an easy decision to make? Just like, punish both of them. And it just sucks again. Like, and I was watching Super Mega, and they also had their very special episode too, except theirs, you could tell because the thumbnail had there was no thumbnail, it was just a black screen with their Super Mega border around it, and it was like, we need to talk in there. I'm like, okay, all right, well, I am interested in hearing and other perspectives on the situation. Just to know that, like, I'm not alone in what I think. And that everybody else is rational, too. Shit. I'm still thinking my B button is the A button. Because every game I use this controller with thinks the B button is the A button. Like, the SNES, the F, the 8-bit do. 8-bit do. I think it's supposed to sound like Nintendo, but it sucks. Anyway. But, I mean, it's a good controller, don't get me wrong. But I just don't like the name. But anyway. They talked about the situation. And they mentioned, like, how all of this stuff is still continuing after all these years. It's because these ideals on prejudice are being, like, passed down to the police and the people in general. Like, in adults who think this way. They pass it on to their kids. And in areas where, like, the prejudice is high and the white people count is also high, it just gets passed down and things like this. You know, there's upbringing and states where there's like Confederate landmarks or it's just like objects from the past, and what they represent is very outdated and not good to have anymore just because of those ideals. It's not, and the ones who keep it around, the ones who want to keep it around, like the protesters, the other kind of protesters who are like, no, this is history, the hills have eyes, cousin fucker kind of types. Jesus Christ. Yeah, those kind of white people. Those ones that think like this is history, we shouldn't take it down. Well, in a matter of like preserving it because it's important. Not, they really just want to keep it around as a reminder of like their heritage or some shit. But like, it's not a good part of the heritage. And they suggested, okay, what you should do is keep it in like a tolerance museum. Like, I remember I went to the Museum of Tolerance in middle school, and that fucking woke me the ass up. They had like a replica room of the gas chamber, and it was because it wasn't about like, oh, this is history, we need to keep it because it's cool. Not like the white nationalists want to keep the Confederate statue of a guy. Not in that way, but just to teach. They use it to teach in places like the Museum of Tolerance. So it makes sense to keep stuff like that there. But there's no purpose in keeping a statue of the I don't know, the founding father of the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. It's there. What did the guy say? Can I go to the gym now? I wasn't really paying attention. Now I gotta go find this misty water bitch. Anyway, and all these landmarks and statues and stuff are built on these prejudices, and the fact that they want to keep it only shows that they still have these things. It's like, you don't really think this is history, even if it is. It doesn't need to be around anymore just so you can jack off to it. God damn. It's just not good to keep around anymore. It's not really history. And I've been thinking about like Black Lives Matter as a fad. I don't see it as a fad. I see it as a movement. Oh, there she is. But when I go on Tinder and you see like this white girl with a profile picture of like, I don't know, a martini or a wine glass or something, she's got like black BLM at the top of her profile. It's like, something about this seems disingenuous. But who am I to be all like, do you really think Black Lives Matter? To every single person, I think, to every person that says that or puts something on their Instagram feed or whatever the fuck about it, like, it takes me back to a time when feminism was kind of resurging again around, I guess, like 2015 and 16. It just I think there was a lot of I don't know how to explain this, but there was a lot of talk about like portrayal, most especially in video games. I want to talk to this guy first because he's not in the water. And I remember on Tumblr, when I used to keep up with it a lot, I followed a Peanut Butter Gamer. But he was responding to an ask that was a really, really charged ask. I already talked about this in Mega Man Star Force. But he was responding to an ask asking him, are you a feminist? Do you think that radical feminists are trying to just change the video game industry and take all our bully games away? And he used the word feminazis too. It was just like, okay, we already know what this person thinks in general about women in the video game industry, so probably don't listen to what this guy is saying. And Peanut Butter Gamer responded by saying, I am a feminist, and a lot of other stuff backing it up. Then a different Tumblr user responded by saying, "Are you really a feminist? You think you could just say that because it's a fad to be a feminist, and no one really means it when they say it. Also, you need to prove it, but also you don't have to prove it because you shouldn't have to." And it's just, it didn't give him a way out of that. And I realized it wouldn't be fair for me to say that to someone who just kind of says that. As long as they at least think it, I kind of don't really give a shit. In terms of Black Lives Matter, because I can't take myself out of this experience of being in the group that is being prejudiced against, so I don't know what it's like. Okay, that's not true. As someone who is not part of the LGBT, it's not hard for me to say, I think people who treat others differently based on their sexual orientation is wrong. The same way it goes for race. Oh, my fucking knee hurts. I'm hitting the floor at Target. Anyway. So, if I went up to someone who said said they're for black rights, I'm not going to be like, really? Because you need to go back in time, and you can't just say that. You have to go back in time, become an activist, and then you can say that you're for Black Lives Rights. It's like, not really. I think that any time is a good time to decide that you are a good person, or realize it at least. So, and generations are a thing. There's different age groups of people who grew up or didn't grow up with this stuff. So, someone who grew up with, around the Black Panther era is probably like, oh, black rights activists are scary because they're radical. It's like, not really. I can't think of an equivalent for the other groups, but I don't really know where I'm going with that part. But when someone says that, like, sometimes at work recently, I see people with face masks or shirts or some kind of memorabilia that says Black Lives Matter, and I'm going to call them out immediately and be like, oh, you need to prove it. It's like, they're already wearing the thing. I don't need to go after them. They know that the shit is going on and they're aware of it. That's kind of all I need to feel better around these things. Just the idea that it's not every white person, mostly, I don't need a white person to be like, oh, I feel guilty because blah blah blah. Just it was a South Park episode where, oh Jesus Christ, is that a crit? Wow, okay. Cloister is Bad News Bears. I remember watching this episode, and it was about Stan and Token. They had this like falling out over something. I don't remember what it was, but it ended with him saying, you know what, I don't understand and I will never understand, but I will support you. And that was like, you know what, that is kind of generally what I want to hear when someone is saying that. Because you do get the group that are like, I understand your pain, I just want to understand it, I want to know what it feels like. No, you don't. Nobody should feel like this, okay? I don't want someone to go through what I'm going through just to, prove that they are for fighting black prejudice or prejudice against like black people or any other group for that matter. You just have to acknowledge it, that it's happening, and either do what you can to prevent it or punish or scold other people in your society around your like personal self to prevent it from spreading. And that is as simple as I can put it. And then as I was watching the Super Mega podcast, they talked more about like police. And what I do think that depending on the area, some police officers are just really weird about it. Because what if okay? They talked about like police officer training, right? And they're wondering like, okay, what if police officers aren't being properly trained for de-escalating things? And it's like, okay. Well, I was thinking, okay, what if they are being trained, but the area is so prejudiced that like a police department in some given cities, like I don't know, the South or something, are just trained to discriminate against specifically certain races because of that area, and the area might try to do things like hire less black people, get less like people of color on the force so they can't be watched or whistle blown on or some shit like that. That's what I just thought of this right now. That's why the police chief in I can't remember if it was Georgia after the George Flynn thing or Mississippi after. No. Robert in Georgia or George Floyd in Missouri or Mississippi or wherever it was. The police chief in either, I don't remember which one, but the police chief in one of those cities resigned because there was no point in trying to punish an officer, because apparently there's a thing where anyone who tries to like fight against itself is called a traitor to the force and they just get destroyed. It's like a fate worse than getting fired or something. And what is up with that is what I want to know. I saw an article on MSN. My homepage is msn.com. It's just like, I don't know why. I always grew up with it, so I kept it in my homepage because they put news stories on there that keep me somewhat informed. And articles that are relevant sometimes. You get the occasional like, oh, top 5 reasons why your doctor doesn't want you to use this, or top 10 reasons why bullshit, kind of like BuzzFeed article kind of stuff. But occasionally you get the real ass news article that is like, okay, for example, I read one where 3 police officers in New York during the protests knelt on the ground to show their support, or that they, I don't know, to the protesters. And there's like a article quoting one of the police officers saying, the cop inside of me wanted me to kick my own ass. It's kind of like, what's the big deal with showing that you're a fucking human? And why is there this notion that police officers shouldn't give in to being a decent human being and recognizing that the mass is upset at us because of what other officers did? So he was aware that he was going to be seen as some sort of traitor, so he just felt guilty about it. It's like, dude, you don't need to feel guilty. Kneeling during that time just showed that they were human, to my opinion. But yeah, like, there's prejudice in police force. Okay, god damn it. I taunted him to prevent shit like that from happening, and then it happened because of a side effect. Okay, well, 0.303 catch rate is gonna die. So yeah. I also been thinking about my action, or I guess inaction is a better way of putting it. Because I don't know if I said this already, but I reconnected with my ex. We're not like together or anything, but we've been hanging out a little bit. And then during the George Floyd protests, one day she asked me how I was, and I was just sad that like things are never gonna go back to normal. She was like, back to normal? Police every day are like fucking killing black people and all this stuff, and being just brutal in general. You should be upset, was her next text. I was like, okay, who is telling who to be upset? I'm sad, but I'm not angry. I mean, I'm angry, but it just stirred me a little bit. It was kind of like, I guess it woke me up a little bit, but at the same time, that's exactly the not thing I need to hear is you should be angry. Like, I said in another video, like, while this is all happening, I still have a life to live. And I also kind of wish I didn't have, like, mortal obligations, like working and being a civilian and just trying to create as it's the thing I want to do with my life. Like, I'm a creative. I like being at home and drawing and telling stories and getting my ideas out there, regardless of like chaos in the world happening. Like, if I could just do that without having to do like civil duties, god damn it, then I would be happy. But like, I can't go to things like protests. I don't have money to donate. Like, I never donate to things in general, which could be. I would think that it doesn't make sense to say that about my character at all. It's like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just I don't donate to things in general. So, also, I got destroyed by that earthquake, so this is not very good. I don't have any more revives, but everyone says silence equals death. So if you're not doing anything, you're part of the problem also. So it's like, fuck, I can't find a way out of anything, and I don't want to feel bad just because I'm trying to live my life. Like, I don't have time to go to a protest. I don't have time to do anything. So just fuck off with that shit. Like, that was kind of the last thing she said to me. Oh jeez. And I guess to this day I don't know if she's like mad at me for saying, okay, what I said was, I feel like I'm such a cog in the machine that I don't really have power to do anything. And that's exactly what the oppressor wants you to think, is that you don't have power. Or they want you to believe that you don't have like an influence on anything happening in the world, especially when it's affecting you. Like, I've read 1984. I mean, I'm not I'm not saying like that was the answer to everything, but it allowed me to put it in a different perspective and realize that because I think that I'm putting myself at risk of, I don't know, I'm using a lot of words, because I think I don't have time to do anything. It means that I think that there's nothing I can do. So even though there are, but I have these ties to reality. It's like, I still have to go to work at the end of the day. I still have to do all these things. I still have to take care of my house, my fucking apartment. I still have to pay bills. And then telling me I should be angry kind of made me upset a little bit. It's like, no shit, I'm angry, but God, I don't know how to explain my struggle. And I feel like I'm not like everyone who gets to just stay home and say Black Lives Matter and like a Tumblr post or something. You know, like, I wish I could just throw all this shit away. Like, I'm getting to the point where I don't even want most of my material possessions, except for like 3 things. I just want my laptop and my tablet. I could have one set of clothes and I could be on the street. Like, I just want to be able to create. If I can't create, then I'm not doing anything in this world. Oh shit, he's faster. I feel like that's my purpose. So regardless if there's prejudice happening around me and stuff and all that other crap, then I don't really know. That's pretty much all I wanted to get out. Like, I'm not gonna bother sleeping since it's pointless. Hey, finally, I have something that can turn the tide on the situation. Unfortunately, Lapis has like no attack power, so this is gonna take a while. Okay. All right. No, I was gonna do that to you, bitch. And I'm thinking like, okay, so let's say we cut funding to police. What changes after that? Like they don't. Okay. Apparently other countries do a thing with their police force where they have like a non-emergency response team that handles non-violent situations. They try to do that first, and then if it escalates further, then they call the real police, and then they do things. And there's people who play the devil's advocate. There's a lot of devil advocates in the world apparently who are like, well, what if it's a situation where it does turn violent? You got the wrong people. You need the people with the guns there first, because this is America, and it's all about shooting first and not getting fired later. Apparently. But like, it would be better in this country if we had a response team first, part of the police departments, who looked into things. Is like, if there's no violent things going on, you don't need to use force at all. Like, they're walking around with all this equipment, like a taser and a bat and like all this other stuff. They don't need half of that shit when they're responding to a disturbance call or a shady character call. Like, okay, as someone who has to, I guess, okay, someone could argue this against me, but as someone who has to profile people when they come in, I don't really go for race. It's never about race. It's like, how does this person dress? How is their behavior like when they come in the store? Are they shifty? Are they looking around to see who's watching them? Are they in? That's how you usually get the shoplifters. Is like, yeah, I've gotten a few thieves who happen to be black. I've gotten thieves who are white. I got thieves who are like Middle Eastern. Like they come in all shapes and sizes. There's no point in narrowing it down by race because they all fucking do it. So that's why there's other things to go by. But you get people who use defensive, saying like, "Oh, I was scared. This person doesn't look right to me." But it's when they do it, it's always about race. It's like, okay, you didn't say that about the white person wearing a hoodie with like hands in the pocket with something bulging out on the side, like something big and metal. Like that could have been a gun. You didn't say that to that white person. You didn't call the police on that white person. Someone's unruly in a restaurant. Or no, let me rephrase this. Someone comes in a restaurant and they look like poor, but they're white. You wouldn't say shit to them, but like a black guy comes in with like, I don't know, gym shorts, and you tell him suddenly there's a dress code and you can't come in the restaurant anymore. It's like shit like that. So when they use that as a defense, like, oh, I thought this. They completely has to do it race, and they just can't get away with that. Like, God. So, like, when I say back to normal, and when I said that in that text, I meant like even before this shit. Like, I mean, I didn't even mean just the violence. I meant like the virus too. Like, there's a virus going on. Everything's closed. People are dumb. They want to go outside. They want to go to the beach. They want to go to restaurants. They want to go to rallies and just spread this thing further. They refuse to wear masks. Some of them don't even believe it's real, even though there's freaking people dying in hospitals. you know, relatives are dying, but it's all bullshit, fake news. Fucking god damn it, just that is the everything I have to say about that. Just that sigh. Just god. And all I can do is play Pokemon on the internet to make myself happy, and I can't even do that. And I know this sounds like kind of macabre, but sometimes I do think someone's gonna do that to me. Like, oh, there's a black guy walking down the street at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm on my way to work. They don't know that. They think that I'm a criminal because I'm black. Whatever. And then I get stopped by the police. Something bad happens. Even though I do nothing wrong, I will probably get shot because the police are dumb. I guess it depends on the area. I don't think it would happen in San Diego. Maybe it does. Maybe it had. I don't know. But the bottom line is, when that shit does happen, all they go is, oops, I messed up. It's like, no, you're walking around with a firearm. You can't afford to mess up. And the cops in other states use that as an excuse. Like, oh, I messed up, forgive me. Like, no, you lose your job, you forfeit your life. You fucked up. How are they training them? Like, how? Just what? God damn. I don't know where I want to go next. I need to raise femboy lol, so I need to go west Meowth. Like that episode, go west Meowth. So I don't know when I'm gonna do another Pokemon video. I'm starting Sonic Generations, and I'm revisiting Flithook as of this video. So maybe I won't do any of those things. I won't make another Pokemon episode, at least. This is just that I'm awake. I have too much energy right now. I don't really want to go to bed. There's no point. I have to leave in like an hour from now. It's like 10 in the morning. So yeah,